Hey everyone, Scorp here. Going to a older video format here. First off, this is the Gemini mod. So this is slightly different than the videos I did for Redux for going over deck profiles. But same format applies. So first off, I'm going to go over the deck. So this is a Winged Beast deck that isn't Crimson Sunbird focused. It's just using Crimson Sunbird because it's probably the best leader I could possibly use for this. As I did make it a better leader than any of the other Winged Beasts because I made it 7 stars, so this level cost reduction is -2. And that's why I nerfed Crimson Sunbird like that, because you're never going to actually summon Crimson Sunbird as a regular creature. And if you were going to, you were going to do it with a Crimson Sunbird as a leader, in which case it would still be 5 stars. So it doesn't change anything. Other than I made it slightly worse if you were going to put a Crimson Sunbird in your deck for some other with not a Crimson Sunbird as leader. I don't think you'd ever do that, so that's why it's better. So also it has, as you probably saw because this is coming out right after my Spirit of the Books playthrough, it has movement boost for same type friendlies. It weakens fish, which doesn't really ever come up. I mean, unless you're going to go beat up Mako a whole bunch. The increased movement's going to be nice. So unfortunately, this isn't a very fast deck. As you can see, I have 3 Magician of Faiths here, which are really slow cards. But hey, we can run away really quick, so if our opponent tries to really beat us down, we're not going to have too bad of a time, hopefully. Famous last words there. I have a feeling this deck probably gets run over by like Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon Turbo and some other stuff, but I mean, there's no helping that. So 3 Magician of Faith, this will be important for Darkness Approaches later. 3 Bukus. This is what this deck is built around. It's a Spirit of the Books turbo deck, so you're going to fuse out a whole bunch of... Fuse Buku with a whole bunch of Winged Beasts and make yourself a bunch of Spirit of the Books. So for that, one of the best Winged Beasts in the game is Fiend Reflection number 2, so might as well have that as a as one of the targets, because just in case you didn't draw it, you can use this as a Solomon's Law book. And with cost reduction 2, I mean, you can probably still play a monster with it afterwards. So this thing only costs 2 stars, which is really nice. Next up, 3 new Atoris. These have a really good effect. So any healing is doubled. You can do some serious amount of healing if you absolutely needed to. Just be careful about bad reactions to Samachi, it'll kill you. 3 Spirit of the Books. Why fuse into them when we can just play them for 2 stars? It's pretty good. Drollbirds. These things are free. Sweet. They also are fusion fodder. Its effect doesn't matter. It's just cheap. That's the reason I picked it over any other Winged Beast. And it has an effect. I'm not going to say it's great. And then... So one thing about this deck is it puts a ton of creatures in the graveyard. And I mean, this deck just loads the graveyard up with Bukus. I mean, you can go through a game and you could have like 40, 50 cards in your graveyard pretty easily. So there's Mukamukas. I mean, you only need 30 cards in your graveyard, and this thing's hits damage cap, so... great card. Unfortunately, it doesn't fix the biggest problem, which is you just getting run over. But it means that if you ever get to the late game, you just absolutely win the game. Also, if you have like 5 cards in your graveyard, and then you flip one of these, and then you throw a Darkness Approaches, and then flip it again, I mean, it's like a 3,000 plus attack creature. For 2 stars, really good. 3 copies of Mountain, because we're mostly going Spirit of the Books here. A Heavy Storm, we have the ability with Magician of Faith to recur this as many times as we want. So Infinite Heavy Storms is really, really strong. 2 Soul the Piers for defense, and we have Nuatori for using it a bunch. Dark Piercing Light, just absolutely amazing when you're going for lethals. Same with Heavy Storm. 3 Darkness Approaches. This is why the deck is so expensive in terms of deck cost. I try to keep my decks under 1,000. This deck is very expensive, especially with the nerf to Magician of Faith. And compared to Chaos, Darkness Approaches are 30 more expensive each, so pretty expensive. Next up, 3 Follow Winds, 3 Gust Fans. All of these work on Spirit of the Books. And that's the only thing I'm really needing to buff, so that's why I have them. They're also full equips. I really don't like the Invigoration and Megamorphs, so we got those. Next up, 3 Spellbinding Circles. Tried to keep the cost down a little bit with the not using shadow spells. These do basically the same thing. Just trying to slow down opponents. I'll be honest, we'll never have an issue against the AI with a deck like this, because this deck can build out something so strong so quick that the AI can't actually deal with it. But there is always the... But if you're going against another person, like, I don't know how you survive with this deck. It does what it can to try to slow down the game. Unfortunately, it just needs like 3 or 4 plays that you don't have. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm only going to be able to play like a 1900 turn 1. But hey, being able to move 2 spaces to the side gives you a little bit of extra breathing room at the start. And hopefully you'd be fighting it with some labyrinth terrain on the field. But you're going to see how quickly this can get out of hand. I've already got a 3300 here. Like, in 2 turns, I've made 4 creatures, which is really, really a lot for this game. And I've managed to let this get out of control pretty quick. So this is what you'd want to do. Against other people, it wouldn't... Like, somebody would be on top of you already with 3,000 attack beat sticks on turn 3, so you're going to have to do some fancy playing to stop them from killing you at this point. But, I mean, that's just how aggressive I think that the game would probably be. But against the AI, they're not doing anything, so... Let's do this. So we've already made a 5,000 attack creature here. I mean, we're pretty much good to go win the duel at this point. This is about the same speed as like a mystical elf style deck. Except you don't have the like ray and temperature finishers that are absolutely absurd. So again, I am just doing this to summon out as many of these as I can. Use the Bukos to increase strength. And if we want to look at my graveyard right now, I have already almost 10 creatures in there. So you can very, very quickly get to this point where you have 10 plus cards in your 10 plus monsters there for your Muka Muka, as I said. Well, he's Swords of Revealing Lighted me, so I can take my sweet time here. At this point, taking down Mako. So I don't even need to go infinite here with Darkness Approaches. But I could if I wanted to, is the main difference. You can also do this with Mask of Darkness. You guys probably saw in my playthrough with this kind of deck just how strong I could be super quickly. Okay. So in just a handful of turns, I made a 7,000 attack reacher that was more than enough to win the duel. This would have been over a couple turns ago if he hadn't Swords of Revealing Lighted me, but you guys get the idea. Against a relatively weak opponent like Mako, I don't know why I'm bothering with the slots. So yeah, that's what this kind of deck would do. I definitely have to say this style of deck would be pretty weak against like Yugi. It really is, just because he has so many mirror forces that you actually have problems with him. And also, I really do need to try to keep my deck cost lower, because of how low I kept the deck cost in most of the enemies in this mod. I did try to keep their deck cost down a bit, just so you couldn't use everything in the world against them. Although, I mean, you have access to infinite equips in this game, so it's not that big of a deal. I don't want this card in my hand right now, so we'll get rid of Muka Muka. Terrifying, sir. I can wait until next turn to see what I want to do with Buku. This guy is another problem for this kind of deck. Just fuse this out. Oh, I should have used Follow Wind. The reason he's a problem is because he has a bunch of Blast Jugglers and Blast Spheres and Barrel Dragons that all like to just destroy one-off enemy creatures. Which is not healthy for me. I do need to slow him down. I figure a 4,000 attack creature is good enough. Does really just do that? Is his hubris really so great? Yep, okay. This is a testament to this game's AI. This AI doesn't think you will actually kill him because he thinks he can play something stronger than you and then doesn't play something in front of him. So, easy slots. Yeah. Everything, this kind of deck, this is a very interesting style of deck. Definitely, it's definitely easy to put together at the start of the game if you start with the Buku starter deck. Because pretty much everything in this deck is available in the slots besides Darkness Approaches and Magician of Faith. And you need like 1 Darkness Approaches. Like 2, and then you're just off to the races. Otherwise, Mountain's kind of annoying to get, but let's be honest, like, Mountain isn't what makes or breaks this deck. And as you probably saw in my playthrough with this style of deck, I made it to very powerful status very, very quickly. Well, we are just drawing everything that isn't a Buku or a Spirit of the Books. It is nice to have 6 Bukus effectively in your deck, natively. Let's see what he has. Or she in this instance. Just take that back. That way they can't move 2 spaces now. But another thing you can recur is this thing's ability to let you play multiple cards in a turn. So it lets you do actually extra plays, which is, like, plays are a finite resource in this game. So the fact that you can do that is really interesting, at least. And there's a Spirit of the Books, finally. That's okay. That card up there is Spellbound Encircled. Understanding where creatures actually spawn around your deck leader when you summon them like this, though, is kind of useful to know, at least. So, yeah, let's do this. Then flip this. And then summon this. That. And then we can flip this. Then we flip this. We can flip this and bring back another Darkness Approaches. And as you can see, in like one turn now I can just build up my creatures like plus 3,000 some attack or something. And I'm doing a whole bunch of plays every single turn now. Just get rid of this. So I can play another one. Just play another one. And I'll destroy this one with my leader, and then play another one. And then if I wanted to, I can even Darkness Approaches again. And as you can see, like this duel's already over. I, in like 2 turns, have just increased the stats on all my creatures by like plus 3,000 or so. My creatures are going to be in the 7,000 range now very quickly. And I have plays that I can make for just days. Can just do this, and this duel's over. I'll even show what they have. Oh, if she plays that, I lose. Or she'll do a lot of damage to me if she plays that before she attacks, but she didn't. It's good to see what your opponent has face down. It's also scary sometimes because her magic neutralizing force field is probably the biggest weakness of this deck. Although, at this point, where I am in this duel, since I killed so many Bukus to do that, I probably had 10 or 12 cards in the graveyard, or 10 or 12 monsters. And that Muka Muka in my hand was going to be a massive threat. So yeah, this is basically a Buku / Spirit of the Decks turbo deck. It focuses on buffing up Spirit of the Books, and its biggest weakness is your opponent rushing you down super quick. But if you can get to like that turn 4 or 5 point, where I was getting to in those games, you can just see it explodes into you having twice as many cards as your opponent, and your cards being 8,000 attack creatures. And you've loaded your graveyard up for Muka Muka to come in and be a gigantic attacker. And you can also recur all of these spells that are really good. So you can reuse Heavy Storm, you can reuse Soul of the Pure, Dark Piercing Light. If you want to, you can make this deck even heavier and add a whole bunch of other really good spells to it. And honestly, the weakest thing in this deck are the equips, which is a terrifying thing to say because equips are terrifyingly strong in this game. So, when you can say that the weakest thing in your deck is your equips, you have a really strong deck on your hands. So, I hope all of you found something interesting about this and can make your own deck similar to this. I know there are many ways to make decks, but this is how I would personally make a Spirit of the Books deck for like a 1050 or so deck cost limit. if somebody gave me a very specific deck cost limit that they wanted me to meet, I could change this deck around pretty easily to meet most deck cost limits. Much below 1,000 is going to be kind of annoying, but it's doable. You have 90 deck cost here that could be Curse Breakers if you needed to. And Soul of the Pure could also get cut down a lot to something lower. But yeah, this is what I'd bring. You could also use something cheaper than Fiend Reflection. It's mostly here for getting turned into fusion fodder. But you have the option of not using it as fusion fodder, so. Also, if you wanted to, you could do open card as your deck leader ability, but I would highly recommend the level cost reduction. Although this deck is pretty cheap on the cost of things. Spirit of the Books and Fiend Reflection are technically 2 cost creatures, so you can always play your monsters too, which is also a really big plus side. So, with that, thank you all for watching, and have a nice day.